on Sidekick. Ricky Widmer here along with Mark Weber.
How's it going, guys?
And for another week in a row, Mr. David Oster is not with us.
It's unfortunate. I definitely miss his presence in the studio.
You miss his presence?
Yeah, where somehow we get even more delayed.
We do.
When Dave's not here.
We get more delayed from recording a podcast when Dave is not here. Dave has had a tricky work schedule and had to miss a second straight week on a podcast where we got a jam-packed show. We're going to be talking Bears-Giants because we can't preview a game because the Bears have already played, Mark.
They sure have, Ricky.
They played yesterday.
And it was a great one.
We're going to get to that. We're going to also talk about Joe Girardi going to the Yankees. Where are the Cubs going to go with their managerial hunt? D. Rose back in the city of Chicago. We're going to talk about his return and how he's going to do this season. The Blackhawks, a little season update to where they are right now, and then make our picks for this week in the NFL. But Mark, first and foremost, Bears, 27-21 victory over the Giants. And after watching this game, yeah, you beat the Giants, but I was not expecting this game to be so close.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was thinking it would be a close game. A lot of people had a blowout for this one. And I don't blame them for that. But at the same time, this is an injured Bears defense that hasn't been performing all that well this year. Besides the turnovers, they're really not doing that much to be happy about. And Eli Manning, yeah, he's having a horrible year, but he still does have 2 Super Bowl rings. I mean, he's still a good quarterback. He just loves throwing interceptions.
It's a meme that I saw right after Manning threw the pick six to, I believe it was Tim Jennings, right? That returned it for the pick six. It was a meme that had Eli on the phone to his brother Peyton. It's like, hey, Peyton, can you tell me what I'm doing wrong? What can I do? And Manning, and this is Peyton, says, change your last name.
It's ridiculous how one can be so fantastic and the other one can be on pace to set a record for most interceptions ever.
Well, they're both going to set records this year. 1 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Mannings are just killing the record book right now. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the Bears did a good job, and we're lucky that the offense finally is in good shape, and it can actually be the offense that's keeping us in the game instead of the defense. And last week against the Saints, it was something where the defense is what got us to stay in that game.
Yeah, but I mean, and maybe this is just me kind of poking holes in your statement. Without the defense, you lose by 1.
In this game?
Yes. Without the Jennings touchdown, you lose by 1.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair statement, but at the same time, in that case, you have a very different game and things would have turned out differently.
And I mean,
in general,
the only problem I had with the Bears offense, and this is a little one-sided because I'm a little biased because of my fantasy football team. 5 targets for Alshon Jeffrey, where Brandon Marshall gets 11. Really?
Well, we'll get there in a second. I want to say one thing though. First, the one thing I do like about our defense, and I said it earlier, is the turnovers. That's the only thing our defense is doing right now. We can't get pass rush. We have nothing going on in the pass rush. We couldn't stop the run.
And I did say last week on the show, when is one going to go to the house? It did.
Yeah. But to get to the Alshon Jeffrey comment, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's kind of how Alshon Jeffrey is. He has a really big game, and then he kind of falls off a little bit. And Jay Cutler, he's going to feed his number 1 guy, and he's a guy who was frustrated last week. So Jay Cutler had to give him the ball a lot.
See, but at the same time, and I mean, maybe this is Mike Mayock and Brad Nessler I kind of agreed with Mayock a little bit where you have Jeffrey, he's had 2 great games back-to-back. For fantasy-wise, they're both 20-point performances. And you have a New York defense that kind of puts a little bit more consideration to him, and then it's like, oh, wait, we have to cover Brandon Marshall, too.
Not only that, but you have Martellus Bennett, who's going over, I think the stat right now, and they said it in the post game, was like, if Martellus Bennett gets over 80 yards, the Bears win. If he's under 80 yards in reception, the Bears lose. That's the stat.
But he was under 80 and they won this week.
Was he under 80?
Yeah,
what was he at?
He had 6 catches for 68 yards.
So not super far under, but I mean, in this case, that was just the stat they were talking about yesterday. So in this case, he's a little bit under.
If you will win.
Yeah, you get him the ball. Of course, we didn't have the one important red zone catch to him to get that touchdown early on, which is unfortunate. And this is a fun thing. We won the game, so no one's complaining about it.
No,
but that early decision by Mark Trestman to go for the touchdown early on, put in a great situation by Eli Manning mistake.
That was the 4th and goal?
Yeah. And very early in the game, our offense hadn't even... This was our first time the offense was on the field.
I was sitting there, I don't know why you don't just go for the points. Go take the 3 points when you got a kicker like Robbie Gould that's basically good as gold, especially from that distance.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision. I mean, I appreciate the ballsy call on it. I really do. I don't knock him on that.
Or do you think it was Trestman kind of telling Coughlin a little bit like, yeah, I'm not afraid of your defense, or I'm not afraid of your offense, per se?
I definitely think that has something to do with it, especially because the only reason we had that great field position was because of how bad that offense can be. But I think early on, it kept the Giants in bad field position, awful field position. I mean, they needed, like a 20-yard run by Jacobs to get into where they would be if they just kicked the ball off?
Well, and I mean, you bring up Jacobs, the guy. I could not have guessed that he was going to have 2 touchdowns, 22 carries, over 100 yards, and it's just like, wow. Brandon Jacobs looked like the Brandon Jacobs of old, and I couldn't help but wonder in this game if that's going to be enough to help the Giants get a win this season.
I think I can't imagine the Giants not winning a single game this year. I mean, they're an abysmal football team, and they're barely even playing football out there right now. But the New York Giants, these guys have won. I mean, 2 years ago they won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good team. Eli Manning just won the Super Bowl MVP 2 years ago, and now they're nothing. Like, they're just horrible. It makes no sense. They have to turn something around, even if they just win a couple games against divisional opponents.
I find it funny, though, because I think it was Teddy Bruschi on SportsCenter yesterday that said they were asking about the Giants before the Thursday night game. This was during the day on Thursday, and they're like, are the Giants still in the hunt? And he goes, they're in the hunt for now until after tonight. Then they won't be in the hunt anymore. And at 0-6, I kind of agree with them. They're not in the hunt for me anymore.
Essentially, for the Giants to go into the playoffs, they would have to win every game for the rest of the season -1.
I think they can lose one.
Yeah, exactly. They can be 9-7
and get in. But I mean, the Giants after this game, basically your season's over. And before we get to more on the Bears, the big injury that happened in this game for the Bears defense, like they haven't had enough this season. There was one play in the game, and it was Giants offensive possession. Reuben Randall makes a catch, and it seems like none of the Bears players touched him. He goes to the ground, tries to get up. He slipped. He didn't just give himself up. He slipped. Slams the ball in anger. I thought it should have been a fumble, but the refs say he gave himself up, and the Bears couldn't challenge it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting call because the Bears weren't able to challenge, and if they were able to challenge, it very well could have became a fumble. I mean, I don't know with this one. No one touched him.
It should have been a fumble. That was in my mind.
His knee did go down. His elbow was down, and then he, got angry, had a little hissy fit, and lost possession of the ball. I don't really have an issue with the not calling it a fumble. Only because, I mean, he was down for a little bit of time.
The reason why I do is, 1, he slipped. He wasn't down by contact. And 2, how are you going to teach these? And, I shared the same frustration that Mike Mayock did during the game, where how do you teach these young players what not to do that? When you're just going to be like, oh, you can do that, you're going to keep the ball. He should have lost the ball. Then he'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was a mental lapse. The ball should have went to the Chicago Bears. It shouldn't have been a Giants, because that led to a touchdown.
Yeah. The NFL's not really all that consistent, though, in a lot of those things. It's the referee judgment call. The whistle was blown. There's not much you can do about it. That happens every year. Every few weeks, even, we see referees blow the whistle too early, and fumbles or anything like that, they get called dead. So it's unfortunate, but it happens not every week, but it happens every 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, it angered me a lot, and it wasn't just because I have the Bears defense in fantasy. I'm a Vikings fan, so if the Bears lost, I'd be like, whatever. Would I like them to beat the Giants? Yeah. So I was a little happy, but I thought it was a bonehead move that should have been a fumble. But moving on to the Bears, two things I want to mention. One, I want to ask you a question because you're the Bear fan in the room. What were you feeling during the game when Devin Hester was yapping a little bit at Robbie Gould?
I think Devin Hester is a bit bored right now. He doesn't have much going on. He's not getting he did become the all-time Bears leading kickoff returner in yards. But he's just not doing much. He doesn't get to do much. Most people don't kick to him. He doesn't get these big returns. He's probably a little frustrated. He just was bored, wanted something to do, chirped at him a little bit. I don't really see a big deal about it. I don't think anybody really cared that much. If he starts complaining to Jay Cutler or something, we might have an issue.
See, and this is one of the things, when I was watching the game, I'm going to pull it up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/theonsidekick, because I went ahead and posted this because right when this happened, why is Hester badgering Robbie? Shouldn't he be pissed at the defense for not forcing more punts? #logical.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's he really doesn't have anything to say to Robbie Gould in general because they don't play at the same time ever.
Like Robbie, it's not Robbie's fault that you're not getting punt return. I didn't understand.
I don't think it really necessarily had anything to do with him not getting punt returns. I just think he was in general. Nothing's really been going on for Devin Hester, and he just wants one more return for a touchdown. That's all he wants right now. Nothing's really going his way. Just not too happy.
And then, last but not least, about the Bears, we mentioned that in previous podcasts, how we think that this linebacker shouldn't be the starter for the Bears, DJ Williams. Well, he's no longer going to be the starter. Torn pectoral muscle, out for the year. Big boy. You got Jonathan Bostic. He's going to be the starter. I hate to say that an injury looks good, but this looks good for the Bears.
First of all, I think it needs to be said that Charles Tillman was unable to play in this game because there wasn't enough time for him to be ready from his injury. And then DJ Williams gets hurt in this game after a shortened week. I don't understand the logic for having the Thursday night games. I think they just put an extra strain on players. Players can get hurt easily because they haven't enough time to get their body ready again for football, a gruesome and grueling sport on the body. So with that being said, though, DJ Williams being out, he's been playing great. He's been doing everything we wanted him to do. He stepped in, no problems. But I would love to see John Bostic get the chance that I think he really deserved. He's got some issues himself. He
shined during the preseason.
Yeah. He definitely made some mistakes with pass coverage and things like that, but he's just such an athletic.
You're going to have those rookie mistakes.
He's so athletic and so talented. I just want to see him get thrown out there and just see what he can do, see what he can learn. And I'm thrilled that he has the opportunity.
And this is not the first Bear to go down for the year. We had defensive tackle Henry Melton and replacement Nate Collins both suffered torn ACLs, done for the year. And, will this Bears defense be able to overcome these injuries?
Well, this is traditional Bears football right here. We have a bunch of guys get injured, and it kind of ruins No, it ruins momentum. Is what it does.
Okay.
How many times have we almost gone to the playoffs, but everybody gets hurt? Pretty much every single season.
Good point.
And this is just what happens with the Bears. There's a lot of older players on this team. That's something what happens when you got older guys. But I don't know what it is. We just can never stay healthy.
And one of the things we usually never get to do on the podcast, because how often do the Bears play on Thursday? But usually we're previewing a game that happens this Sunday. But for the Bears, I just want to take a little bit of a look at next week Washington, they got a big Sunday night game coming up this week, but the Bears go to Washington next week before the bye week. Chances that the Bears can be 5-2 heading into the Week 8 bye?
Well, I think they definitely can. It really comes down to RG3 whenever he's going to finally be healthy. They can have a lot of trouble with an injured, beaten down defense if RG3 is healthy, able to run all over people like he used to in his rookie season. If he's going to just have to sit out there and throw, he doesn't have that many options of people to throw to. We can have an easy time stopping that offense.
I'm going to say something that might sound idiotic. I don't say this often, which is probably why I'm probably never going to say this again, but I was watching ESPN First Take today. I actually agree with Skip Bayless.
Impressive.
That's right. I said it. I actually agree with Skip Bayless, where they were talking about when they were talking about it, it was the Redskins-Cowboys game that's going on this week. But because we're bringing up the Redskins now, and you mentioned RG3, I agree with Skip. When RG3 comes out and says, I don't like the read option, I don't want to do it, I want to be more of a pocket guy, I'm with Skip. Go ahead. Show me you can be that pocket guy. Show me that you don't need the read option to be successful, Mr. Mobile Quarterback. Do it. Prove it. Show me.
Well, I think this is the thing about the mobile quarterbacks, and everyone's thrilled about the read option and having a fast mobile offense. Colin Kaepernick, barely running a read option. You have RG3 here, doesn't want to run the read option. Mike Vick, always getting hurt when he's running around being mobile.
The only quarterback it's working for is Russell Wilson, but he has a phenomenal defense on the other side.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs to succeed.
But, I mean, Colin Kaepernick has a pretty good defense, too.
He definitely does.
San Francisco defense
but
is
he
good.
Doesn't want to run the read option anymore. And Harbaugh doesn't want him to run it either. So, I mean, this is the thing. I think I don't want to put the nail in the coffin just yet, but I think we're seeing people kind of going, all right, this was a fun experiment. It worked kind of, not perfectly. Our quarterbacks aren't going to survive. So that was fun. And, I mean, you're still going to have a guy, like Russell Wilson. You're still going to have Mike Vick. You're still going to have RG3, E.J. Manuel, who E.J. Manuel never keeps the ball on the read option. He always gives it away. So even then you got a guy who is a read option quarterback who refuses to keep the ball because he doesn't want to get hit. So the read option, like we said, fun experiment. It's coming to a close.
Yeah, I just feel like to be a pocket passer, you have to be a pocket passer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Colin Kaepernick, good quarterback. RG3, good quarterback. They're no Tom Brady. They're no Drew Brees. They're no Peyton Manning.
Well, that's not their style of play, but they can still be successful pocket passers. We saw it with Colin Kaepernick against Green Bay. We saw when when Mike Vick first came to the Eagles and impressed everybody. He was actually kind of being a pocket passer. That's why he impressed everybody. And then he decided to be a guy who runs around and he gets hurt. So, I mean, it's possible they can be successful with it, especially because if you're going to be a pocket passer, you're going to have the ability to, maybe I will sneak a few yards out here and there.
Okay, Mark, now it's time to take our views from the football field, go to the baseball diamond. Last week, we talked about Joe Girardi and if he would entertain signing with the Chicago Cubs to become the skipper on the north side. Well, it looks like that won't happen as Wednesday. He signed a deal with New York that puts him with the Yankees for 4 more years for $16 million.
Yeah, it seems like the Cubs never get the guy they want. Basically, that's all there is to it right now. I guess for him, it's just hard to leave the place that you've been at for a while.
Well, not that the Cubs don't get... This time, it's not getting the guys they want. Last time, it was not getting the guy the fans want. The last time, and I compared this to the Ryan Sandberg thing. Fans wanted Sandberg. Lou Piniella said you should sign Sandberg because he should be the manager. Goes off. Now he's the manager of the Phillies. We try to get Girardi. Girardi stays in New York because really what it came down to after listening to ESPN Chicago, Waddy and Sylvie, it basically was Girardi saying, I have high school kids. I'm not going to root them out and make them change. If I had younger kids, that'd be easier.
And, I mean, I got to respect the guy for doing that, without a doubt. I mean, that's putting your kids before, yourself and your goals and future dreams or whatever. I think that's really cool. I really do. For Cubs fans, kind of sucks. I don't know who else you're going to go for.
I see the thing about Girardi for me was he was a guy that born in Peoria, Illinois. He played baseball at Northwestern. He was drafted by the Cubs, made his debut with the Cubs in 1989. It was like, come home, be our savior. And it was one of those things where Girardi probably looked and said, you know what? I've won a World Series with the Yankees. But, God, think about what kind... I'd be in the record books if I won a World Series with the Cubs. And to say no to that, to stay with the Yankees, as a Cub fan, I kind of feel hurt. But at the same time, I understand because the Cubs are nowhere... I'm going to say 2 years off from at least trying to make a push at the World Series at the soonest.
No, he was probably thinking, do I really want to go to a team where I will never win a World Series?
I think he could. He's got the
You still
tools.
feeling 2015?
I am feeling 2015, and a good reason why is because our guys are doing pretty good in the Arizona Fall League going on right now. But, I mean, right now there are reports saying that the bench coach of the San Diego Padres, Rick Renteria, he's the main guy, but I mean, another name that's out there is Dave Martinez, bench coach of the Rays, and right now I feel like the Cubs are just going to be like, okay, which bench coach can we get? And it's going to be another Swayam Band-Aid.
Pretty much. I mean, you're just kind of hoping that some guy can last a little bit before you get the guy you want, and the Cubs are never getting the guy they want. At some point, you have to not hope that somebody you want will come in the future. You got to find something that's going to work right now. And I don't know if the Cubs are just not an appealing position for people or what the deal is, but they can't get somebody who they're that thrilled and happy about.
And I mean, another candidate, I'm looking right now in the three candidates I see online. Rick Renteria, bench coach for the San Diego Padres. The Cubs are actually seeking permission to talk to Dave Martinez, bench coach of the Tampa Bay Rays, and then former manager, I want to say, of the Nationals and the Indians, Manny Acta.
I mean, for the Cubs right now, they're looking, they didn't get the number one guy. They got to go to whoever else they can get. No guarantees. I mean, I don't know if you're going to, if you're somebody taking this job, do you think you're going to last that long, or do you think they're going to just look for somebody else in a few years? It's a tough job to take.
I feel right now like I don't know what Theo's thinking. I don't know what's going through his head. I do know this, though. Theo's not the guy that was going to put all of his baskets in the Girardi basket. He was going to be like, if Girardi wants to come here, if he wants to talk to us, great, we'd love to have you, but okay, he goes back to New York, I'm going to find my guy here. I'm going to try to find my guy to help me win a World Series.
I mean, that's what he has to do. That's his job right now. And for the Cubs fans all over, because you guys are everywhere, you guys can't keep waiting around.
No, we can't. I feel like this team has done some good things in the, and I'm going to say it, rebuilding process, but I feel like Will one of these managers be what we need? Maybe, I don't know, but my gut feeling is put a Band-Aid on it, because look at what Dale Swayam was. Hitting coach for the Brewers, comes over, doesn't have the success that we all thought he'd have. He's done 2 years into his 3-year deal. So, I mean, anything can happen, but I am not optimistic right now. I probably won't be optimistic until, let's say, they hire one of these guys, and then they do good things for the Cubs. But in other Cub news, the Rays pitcher, Rays left-handed ace, David Price, says that right after the loss to the Red Sox in the ALDS that he wouldn't be surprised if the Rays dealt him. And one of the things that's kind of booming through the baseball world on the north side, should the Cubs pursue Price?
I mean, why not, really? I mean, the Cubs need a lot of fixes, and they got a lot of holes. Why not get a good pitcher here? He can help you guys out a lot. My thing on this is, like, don't get too excited if you're a Cubs fan.
We've done this before. We've done that. Red light, we've done this before, and look what happened.
Exactly. I mean, and there's even the simple fact of Price is saying he wouldn't be surprised if he was traded. Has anybody said he's on the block? Has anyone reported that trades are being offered? Like, it's just, as of right now, essentially this is just a rumor. It's just an idea. There's no guarantees of anything.
And right now, I'm looking at the Cubs roster from last year. This will probably change going into 2014. But if we keep Samardzija, Wood, Edwin Jackson wasn't great. He wasn't bad. I mean, adding Price to that, having Samardzija, Price, Wood, I'd be happy with that. But I mean, my gut feeling when someone says, should the Cubs trade for David Price, I think we already did that with the Rays for Matt Garza. And how did that turn out? Oh, wait, I think we traded him to Texas.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. If you're a Cubs fan, be wary of trading right now. It's not really working out the best for you. I just think if anyone's getting excited about the possibility of this, I don't know, just have a reality check or something, because the odds are it's not even going to happen. So just don't get excited.
Well, and I mean, to me right now, I feel like instead of going out for a trade, is it going to happen? Probably not. But if I'm Theo, put a lot of baskets into the Jacoby Ellsbury basket. Go after him in free agency. Could you imagine what the Cubs would be like if we got a guy like Ellsbury to come on?
Well, I mean, the Cubs, I don't know. The Cubs are in a tough spot where there are a good amount of fixes that they need right now, and they're kind of in that rebuilding mode. They want to get those young guys. They've traded away some things so they can have younger guys. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you want to just go for the one guy and hope that he's going to be that one thing to lead your way.
I'm not saying just the one guy, but I mean, Ellsbury would be a pretty good addition to a Cubs team that needs it.
And he's a pretty good addition to pretty much any team.
True.
Anyone's going to go for it. And obviously the Cubs, if you land him, fantastic. You're thrilled. Once again, though, I really don't see it happening.
I don't either. I just wanted to throw it out there as an optimistic Cub fan. But moving on from baseball to basketball, since the last time we talked, I believe it was actually the night after we had talked, Derrick Rose made his triumphant return to the basketball court in a game against the Indiana Pacers. And I know it's only preseason, Mark, but in that preseason game, played 20 minutes, went 5 of 12 from the field, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 13 points. And then against the Memphis Grizzlies, played 23 minutes, scored 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals.
Yeah, it's nice to see him coming back and doing really well. It really is. This is what you need. You need the confidence. He needs to go out there and show that he's not slow, he's not hesitant. He's ready to go out there and play some Derrick Rose Chicago basketball. And that's great. I'm a little worried. I mean, Joakim gets hurt immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy who constantly has issues. Obviously, the Chicago Bulls, D Rose is back. And he's going to be great. He's going to be able to lead us very far. As always, we need guys around him who are going to be those guys. And with Joakim getting hurt again, if this is something that persists throughout the season, I'm not happy about that. Joakim's our only guy who's going to get us rebounds.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say something, and I know this is probably going to piss off a few people, but I'm going to say it anyways. Remember a certain draft video that you and me did?
I definitely remember that.
Where I believe it was a Mr. Tony Snell that me and you weren't that too fond of?
Yeah, still not that happy about it.
Well, after 2 preseason games, and I am putting the disclaimer out that, of course, they're preseason games, but yes, he has a +8 and a +13 while on the court, meaning that the Bulls they're not being outscored when he's on the court. But out of his total 8 shots this preseason, he's only made 1 of them, and his only 2 points against the Pacers came from free throws.
And everybody who's constantly talking about how he can shoot. We didn't need a shooting guard because Tony Snell can shoot.
Oh, wait, the 3-pointers he can shoot. He's 0 for 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's preseason. We'll have to wait and see. He's probably not going to play all that much anyways, so we're not going to get to see a ton out of him.
Because Coach Thib loves to play rookies. Look at Teague.
Exactly. I'm not convinced yet. I would love to be convinced on this kid, but not. I haven't seen anything to be that thrilled about.
Are we going to, even though it's the preseason, are we going to see anything exciting tomorrow, which is Saturday, against the Washington Wizards?
I mean, right now, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, you just want to see Derrick Rose. That's all you want to see.
Isn't tomorrow's game in Buenos Aires? Is that tomorrow's game that's in Buenos Aires? I think it is.
That'd be an interesting one. I just don't. I mean, what else are you going to watch for? I mean, obviously you want to see the other guys who are going to step up and be the number 2 for Derrick. But right now, we're just happy to have Derrick back. We've been waiting so long to see Derrick Rose play basketball after seeing a year's worth of commercials about their return and whenever it's going to happen. And, if you take it all away, what's left? Everything.
I was wrong. It wasn't Buenos Aires. It was Rio de Janeiro.
So, I mean, right now, that's all we want to see. We want to see Derrick Rose play basketball. We want him to be healthy. We don't want him to fizzle out later on. We just want to see him being back to the old Derrick Rose.
And we're going to I'm going to promote this now. Hopefully, Dave is back for this in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we're going to have our full NBA preview, getting ready for that Bulls Miami Heat season opener on Tuesday, October 29th. To start the season. Bulls have 2 tough games to start the year, at Miami and then at home against the New York Knicks. But last but not least, before we go back to our football picks for the evening, the Chicago Blackhawks, since the last time we talked, they've lost a few games. They've lost 2 by the score of 3-2. The hardest, I would say, being that shootout loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, we said last week that the game against the Blues was going to be dangerous. There was a possibility we were going to lose that game. Unfortunately, the shootout loss, I mean, that one's a shame. You don't like to see it. I mean, I guess you can't really be surprised. We won the Stanley Cup, but it's not like we were going to go back and have another humongous over half the season point streak. Exactly.
No, wasn't going to have it. And I will throw out, we are recording this Friday. The game is over. Blackhawks beat the Islanders 3-2. Nikolai Habibulin got the start in that game.
Yeah, I mean, he did give up a couple of goals really quick.
He gave up 2. He made 17 saves.
They were pretty much back-to-back, unfortunately. But, I mean, it's good to see him out there. He's not our number 1 guy.
It's the Bulin Wall.
Yeah, he's not our number 1 guy or anything like that, but it's nice to have a guy like that back in Chicago. I was joking around about this, but I will say it now. If we do not win the Stanley Cup while he's here, I blame it on him. We won as soon as he left. We won twice. He comes back. If we don't win anything, I know who I'm going to blame on this one.
Well, and now the interesting thing I'd say about the Hawks is they got to play tomorrow right away. They're at home again, this time against the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, that's back-to-back right there. That's tough, especially in hockey. Obviously, that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's going to be that huge of a deal. It's not like this was a huge, emotional, difficult game for us.
There's only one reason why I'm going to say it's going to be a minor game, is because the Sabres are coming into this contest 0-4-1. Their overtime loss was a 3-2 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Man, would they love to get that first win against the defending Stanley Cup champions at the United Center in Chicago.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be huge for this team. A huge momentum boost, a huge way to kind of re-kickstart your season after your season hasn't really started well. Is it going to happen? I mean, they're one of the worst teams in giving up goals.
Well, I mean, they started off good. A 2-1 loss. It was a low loss at Detroit. A 1-0 loss against Ottawa. But then after that, 4-1 against Pittsburgh. 3-2 Tampa Bay, 4-1 Columbus. So they're giving up 3 to 4 goals a contest in their last 3.
And I mean, not to mention the fact that they're on average scoring a goal per game. You're not going to win hockey if you're just...
Their highest was that overtime loss when they got 2.
Yeah, you're not going to win very many hockey games if you can only score a goal, especially against a team like the Chicago Blackhawks that can put up the numbers fast.
And I mean, at this time, it'll be... I think it'll be interesting to see who starts in net for the Buffalo Sabres, because out of their first 5 games, Miller has started 3, but Johannes Enroth has started 2. So looks like there might be a goalie question in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is, especially if you're not going to be winning games. And obviously, if you're not scoring enough, other teams are going to be able to score on your goalie because they're just going to have the opportunity to. They're obviously, if you're not scoring very many goals, the other team's obviously in your ice.
Well, last thing I'll ask you before we go back to football. Score prediction for tomorrow's game against the Sabres?
Against the Sabres, I'm going to go ahead and say a 3-1. 3-1, Blackhawks get the win.
I'll match you, but I'll go 3-0. Hawks get the shutout at the UC.
That would be fantastic.
Well, Mark, now it's time to do what we do every week and go through the complete slate of NFL games and make our picks to see who's going to win each game. And I kind of feel like this week we have to start off with the Panthers versus my Minnesota Vikings, because I'm coming out here. I'm going to say the Vikings are going to win. Adrian Peterson is going to have a monster game. I'm not talking about any monster game. I'm talking like Brett Favre after his dad passed away. Like Torrey Smith after his brother passed away. Adrian Peterson lost his 2-year-old son this weekend. He's going to have a monster game.
Strange thing about that, I mean, there's kind of a pattern, a generational pattern. It goes to the dad, then it goes to the brother, now it's the son. Interesting. Very interesting. But I agree with you 100%. Peterson's going to have an amazing game. He tried to break that record, and the record he had last year. He wanted to say he could break it this year. It hasn't been as incredible as last season. But this one right here, this game is going to be something special, without a doubt.
And I mean, I'm pulling it up right now just because I still remember seeing it on TV where all before the Monday night game, they were talking about Brett Favre losing his father. Goes out, throws 4 touchdowns and almost 400 yards against the Oakland Raiders.
It was just so impressive.
There's only one thing that's different about this game than both Torrey Smith and Brett Favre. This game isn't in prime time.
That's true. That actually does it make a difference? Probably not. But
he's playing at home. The Minnesota fans are going to be behind him. His teammates are going to be behind him. I'm taking the Vikings with a Peterson big game. I'm going to say like as big to... How many yards did he have against the Bears in his huge games against them? His rookie year? He had at least 300 yards, right? I'm going to say at least 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for AP this week.
I don't know if I would go up to 300 yards, but he definitely has great potential to be in that 250 range.
Another matchup that we're going to talk about a little bit, just making a pick here, Bengals-Bills. Who do you got? I'm going to take the Bengals because without E.J. Manuel, I don't like the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills, they got nothing. I mean, they were trying to pull guys out to see if anybody could start at quarterback. I don't believe that they have a good quarterback.
Their only hope was to get Josh Freeman, and oh wait, he went to my Vikings.
Because why would you want to go play in Buffalo?
Why would you want to go play in Buffalo? But another game, NFC North foe for us. Detroit Lions going to Cleveland to play the Factory of Sadness.
Yeah, and unfortunately for, both of us really, but especially the Chicago Bears, who are currently on top of the NFC North, the Lions are going to win this game.
I can't disagree with you there. Without Hoyer, I think Whedon's not going to be the answer that Cleveland's looking for. Moving on, though. Kansas City, 5-0 under the Andy Reid, Alex Smith era. Can they go 6-0 against the Raiders? I think they can.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the Raiders, they beat the Chargers last week. Congratulations. Chargers aren't that great of a team. There's just... The Chiefs are a much better Well, I don't know. Maybe not much better. Who do you think is a better team? The
They're
Chiefs?
better coached.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way
They're
to
better
put it.
coached. I mean, they're better coached. They have a better quarterback, better running back. The leading rusher and passer for the Raiders is Terrell Pryor.
And that's why they got him. That's why they have this guy out there.
And also, Mark, I'm going to tell you this because I know you have him in our fantasy league. Go ahead and start Donnie Avery because he's going to have 100 yards and a touchdown.
He easily could. And this is why I have Donnie Avery on my fantasy team, because you knew he was going to get a lot of yards, and you knew there were some weak teams that the Chiefs got to play. Chiefs, yeah, they're going to have a good record at the end of the season, but honestly, some of it's a little inflated when they get to play teams like the Raiders.
Okay, here's a game that I know me and you are split on. 0-4 Steelers. Mike Tomlin says, we can have no more fun in this locker room against Geno Smith and the Jets, where New York making the same mistake they made in years past and putting out in their paper that a star is born.
Yeah, but you got to remember, when that star was born, that was a good year for the New York Jets. Maybe the New York Jets have another good year right here. And the Steelers, there's no fun allowed, and that's kind of the summary of this season. Steelers players are not having any fun playing football right now. They're not enjoying themselves. They're playing badly. Rex Ryan is coaching to keep his job. Without a doubt, the Jets can take the Steelers and keep them from getting the win.
I'm going to say that, on the other hand, Steelers go into New York. They show the Jets. The Falcons are going to be given their best Denny Green impersonation, saying, they are who we thought they were. We let them off the hook. That's what they're going to say about Geno Smith. Le'Veon Bell is going to run all over this Jets defense for a Steeler win. First one of the season. But going on from there, another game that me and you were kind of off on. Chip Kelly and his Eagles, struggling Eagles of late, since coming out so hot to begin the season, they go to Tampa Bay to play the winless Buccaneers without Josh Freeman.
Yeah, Josh Freeman is gone officially, even though he's basically been gone for a while now. So the Buccaneers need to get that first win. I don't think they're going to have very many wins, but at the same time, Vic is very banged up. This Eagles team is kind of in a little bit of a low point.
And the latest thing out of Philly camp is he might play.
He might play, he might not play. I mean, that right now with things like this, especially with a quarterback, you can't believe anything like that.
If you're Chip Kelly, who do you start? Nick Foles, Michael Vick?
I don't really believe that Michael Vick is going to last if I start him. I would start Nick Foles.
I start Nick Foles too, but because of what I saw last week. I saw that he could at least run the offense. And one thing I noticed after Foles got in there, Brett Selleck became a part of the passing options.
Which definitely is a huge help if that can go
If you're
for
going to
the
have
Eagles.
4 tight ends on the field, you might use one of them, right?
Might as well. I got the Buccaneers getting their first win of the season on this one, though.
So moving on, another game me and you are off on. Packers at Ravens. I have to go with this Ravens defense, especially at home, and Flacco's got to do something right at home, right? Against A-Rod?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers can do it anywhere, though. We see it all the time. Both of us being fans of teams in the NFC North, we get to see him just do incredible things out there. I mean, Packers are 2-2 right now. And yeah, the NFC North is kind of up for grabs, but they need to get back in it.
They need to get a win. And the one player that I'm kind of circling as a player to watch for the Packers is Eddie Lacy. Because since coming off of that concussion, I mean, 22-9 win over Detroit. They got Baltimore this week. If they can get a win here, they should get an easy win next week against the Browns. And then set them up nicely. If they get 2 wins here, 4-2 heading into games against my Vikings and your Bears.
Very true. But at the same time, we do have to remember that the Ravens are 2-0 at home, and that's going to be a big one for them.
And the Packers are 0-2 away.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what's going to happen? I'm going to go with the Ravens. You're going with the Packers. Next game, Rams. They get a big win over the University of Jacksonville Jaguars, who we'll talk about next, but can they beat a struggling Matt Schaub and the Houston Texans?
Matt Schaub needs to be benched. That needs to be said.
TJ Yates.
I mean,
TJ Yates.
Is TJ Yates the answer for the future? Probably not, but neither is Matt Schaub.
He did well when you had to play him to get into the playoffs.
He did all right. I mean,
he helped you get to the playoffs, and then let Matt Schaub screw it up against the Bengals.
Got them to the playoffs.
Let's put it this way: he didn't scratch the car and then gave it back to Schaub and said, "Here, run it right into the Bengals D."
Schaub decided to take that car right into a tree or something afterwards. But, I mean, Schaub just needs to be out of there. It's done. The experiment's over. We know for a fact that he's not doing it. I mean, he's a game manager.
Well, and I mean, we're both picking the Texans here, but this is one thing I'm weary about this pick. Owen Daniels. He's out for what, 4 weeks at least?
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, if any team is going to be a system-based team, it's the Texans.
Arian Foster is going to get a shit ton of carries now.
And, I mean, they're still going to use their tight ends. They're still going to use them because they got other guys back there who can do it.
Picked up their backup in fantasy.
I did as
see
well.
What happens.
And that's a good pickup for anybody. If he's still available, go ahead and get Garrett Graham. But, I mean, the Texans should be able to beat the Rams just because it's the Rams.
And, I mean, you throw out a fantasy tidbit there. I'm going to throw one out, too, about the Rams. If you're sitting there in fantasy, you need I'm not going to say a starting wide receiver, but if you need a wide receiver maybe to play for a bye week on the flex, play a little matchup, go and get Austin Pettis because right now that's all Sam Bradford's throwing to.
Yeah, it's upsetting to me as someone who has Tavon Austin.
2 tutties against the Jaguars last week.
Well, yeah, it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, but it's still 2 tutties.
It's the Jaguars. They're not an NFL team.
Still, he's throwing the ball to Austin Pettis more often. I'd go pick him up. But we mentioned that Jaguars team. There was on Broncos television, a Denver station, today, I believe. They said that it kind of was written under like a John Fox interview. Denver Broncos pretend Jaguars are a good team. 0-5 Jacksonville going to 5-0 Denver. Peyton Manning, can he break the record? Can he throw 8 touchdowns against the Jags?
I mean, why not? What do the Jacksonville Jaguars have?
I mean, it should go without saying that both of us are not picking the University of Jacksonville. We're going with Denver.
Yeah, I mean, feel free. If you're out there and you got $100 to spend, not even $100, you got like $10 that you want to spend, go ahead and bet on the Jaguars. Because what's the worst that happens?
If you put $10 on the Jaguars and they win, how much money would you get if the line's at 26?
I don't honestly, I don't really understand how all that stuff works.
That's why I'm asking you.
But it'd be a shit ton.
It would be a ton of money. Honestly, I wouldn't even want to lose $10 because that's how poor I am. But I mean, who's going to start for Jacksonville? Are they going to put Gabbert out there? Is Henny going to go out there? Doesn't matter. Peyton Manning's going to throw to Thomas, Welker, put a little Decker in there. I'm saying 8 touchdowns for Peyton in this one. Putting that big arm to use.
He definitely is going to have a huge game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sorry, Jacksonville, but this team is not getting any better anytime soon.
If they tank and they go and get the first-round pick, I'm going to throw it out there. Because of everything that I've seen on ESPN this week about Jadeveon Clowney's draft stock, if you are the first-round pick for the Jaguars, who do you take right now? Teddy Bridgewater, Johnny Manziel, Clowney.
I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars need a quarterback. They've needed a quarterback for a long time, and they still can't figure it out. But with that being said, just getting a quarterback is not going to get you any wins.
Yeah, I get more than that.
Exactly. I would take Clowney right away.
You would take Clowney?
Bolster that defense.
Looks like a good plan. We'll see. I'm assuming that they'll go 0-6 to start the season, but we have the Titans. They'll be without Jake Locker again. Ryan Fitzpatrick under the helm. They go to Seattle, the loudest crowd in the world, it seems. Seahawks at 4-1. Can the Seahawks pull out the win here? I got them getting the win.
Yeah, they definitely should be able to get this win. They're obviously one of the better teams. Everybody knows it. No reason why they're going to slow down right now.
And then we have next game coming up, Saints, Patriots. Gronk not going to play. And one thing that I noticed today while I was watching First Take, Skip Bayless comes out and says to Tom Brady, "Come on, Tom, this is your time. This is your time to shine. No one's going to save you. You need to go mano a mano with Drew Brees. I don't think he can do it. Saints go 6-0.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of an unfair statement. Drew Brees with a good team and Tom Brady with a team that's falling apart.
Jimmy Graham. Just Jimmy Graham alone. Any team would be better. I feel like the only way the Patriots could level the playing field is to have Gronk out there. Because, I mean, in one of my leagues in fantasy, I was going to bench Kembrell Tompkins this week because Gronk was playing. Gronk's not playing. I'm putting Tompkins back in.
Well, I mean, Graham is pretty much better than all of the
Except for
wide
maybe
receivers.
Tony Gonzalez. I'm talking fantasy-wise.
Well, no, I'm saying Graham is better than every wide receiver on New England. And he's a tight end.
What about Danny Amendola?
When does he play?
Last week.
Exactly. He's played 2 games in this season so far. And I don't expect him to make it out of this game alive.
Why did I draft him?
Because Dave told you it would be a good idea. That's why I drafted him too. He makes such a good argument on it, and you're sold, and you just want to... You're like, okay, fine, Dave, I'll make you happy. I'll pick Danny Amendola, and then week 1, you regret it.
Week 1. Well, week 1 I didn't regret it, but after that...
He got hurt. He got hurt in week 1.
I kind of did. But he got 10 points.
Yeah, but he's hurt, and then he's gone.
But he got 10 points. I didn't need him after, I had Julio Jones for a while. Yeah, how did that work out?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I got the Saints winning this one. They played really well against the Bears. There's no reason why they can't do the same in Foxborough.
Exactly. Picking the Saints as well.
Last 4 o'clock game on the slate. It's a game, Mark, that you said that they're promoting this as a big game. But are the Cardinals really going to go into Candlestick and win?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so.
They're making a big deal about this, and yeah, I mean, divisional, whatever. But the Cardinals aren't really that good. Yeah, they have the same record, but the 49ers started off slow.
But the Cardinals played the Panthers last week.
Yeah.
And the Panthers aren't that good.
Exactly. I mean, it's this one should not be that close of a game. Maybe it will. Maybe Kaepernick is going to continue to struggle, but you would hope not. You'd hope he kind of gets things together. Starts going well, but Cardinals at Candlestick, no, they're not going to win this one.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason why I have the 49ers is just because the 49ers have to get going sooner or later. It seems like ever since that Seattle loss, they haven't had that same type of, I'm going to use the word swag, that they had at the beginning of the season against the Packers. They go into Seattle, they get their shit rocked, and then Kaepernick's no longer Colin Kaepernick. He's got to show up.
He's got that damn beard. He needs to shave that thing.
Well, he doesn't have an eyebrow either after that game.
Well, I don't think he actually shaved it off. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
I'm kidding. I know he didn't really shave it off. But, yeah, I'm going 49ers. In our primetime Sunday game, before we get to Monday, Redskins-Cowboys. RG3 going up against Romo. And, Mark, you've said it earlier today. The Romo theory is that Tony's not going to have a good game.
No, he just had a fantastic game, one of the best of his career, and still lost to the Broncos. But he had such a great game just last week. There's no way he has another good week. It's just how Tony Romo works. He is inconsistency personified in a human being.
I don't know, though, because I feel like Tony Romo's going to have a big game against the Washington Redskins, and I feel like the Cowboys are going to win huge in this
Here's
one.
the thing about the NFC East.
They suck?
None of these teams are any better than any of the other teams.
I would say the Cowboys are better than the other 3.
When they play each other, all of them play like they have no clue what the hell is going on. I mean, it's just sad. The NFC East is sad. Without a doubt, the Redskins can take this one away, even if RG3 is hobbling out there, because that's just how the NFC East is.
So you're taking the Redskins on this one?
I am taking the Redskins.
I'm going to take the Cowboys. And then our Monday night game, Andrew Luck's Monday night debut, Colts at Chargers.
We need a TV commercial so we know.
I got the Colts going 5-1 on the season, 3-0 on the road. Andrew Luck, he's marking that AFC Championship game I predicted against the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the Colts to win this one as well. But I think, I don't know why we need a commercial advertising that it's Luck's first primetime game.
Because I feel like They always
It's added pressure.
They always have the Monday night commercial, and the way I see it, and if you haven't seen the commercial already, go to the facebook.com/the onside kick to check out the commercial. They put radioactive underneath. Welcome to the new age. It's a new age for the Colts. Peyton Manning's no longer there. Plus, also on Monday Night Football, we're not getting the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady duos. It's Andrew Luck's time to take over Monday Night Football.
You know, if I'm a Chargers fan, I'm pissed. I mean, this is your game, too. And this is a home game for the Chargers. And what did they say about the Chargers?
And they're showing home clips.
Not a single thing.
They're showing home clips of Andrew Luck.
Yeah, they don't say a single thing about the Chargers. Chargers got a pretty decent quarterback out there, too. He's a guy who can compete with Andrew Luck.
Unless he's throwing interceptions to Brian Cushion.
Or he's just throwing it to... Who was over there? Nobody? Because he does that sometimes.
The only player that... I have the Colts winning this game, but the only player I have coming up big for the Chargers is Danny Woodhead. Danny who? Danny suck on my Woodhead.
I mean, it's interesting, too, because we're talking about Andrew Luck. And, yeah, Andrew Luck has a very good new running back out there in Trent Richardson. But let's look at some numbers here. And Rivers throws
numbers
more
never
than
lie,
Luck.
Mark.
They never lie. Not a single time will they ever lie. But, I mean, Rivers throws more than Andrew Luck, but he's also thrown for 500 more yards, a little under 500 more yards, and has almost doubled the amount of touchdowns that Andrew Luck has thrown. And we're advertising Andrew Luck in that commercial. I'd be pissed if I was a Chargers fan.
It's his debut, bro.
Who cares?
It's his debut.
Who cares about some... well, he's not a rookie anymore. Who cares about some sophomore kid who's going and playing that we think is going to be pretty good? I mean, yeah, he's going to be good. We know he's going to be good. But, I mean, I'm getting into the eyes of a Chargers fan. Who cares about Andrew Luck?
Well, and one of the last things I want to talk about, the reason why we haven't said it in any of the matchups going on this week is because the Atlanta Falcons aren't playing this week. They're on their bye. I'm kind of upset. Julio Jones out for the year, foot fracture.
Yeah, it's disappointing for all of us that have him in fantasy because he's been doing great.
He was great. He was my number one wide receiver, and now I'm forced to pick up Roddy White, hoping that he comes back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and to be honest, though, I'm not that upset if I'm in Atlanta. Why? Because this season's not going your way. It's not going well for you.
You know who I do feel sorry for?
Huh.
Tony Gonzalez.
After he came back
for a Super Bowl, and then you only win one game through the first 5 weeks, and then Julio Jones is injured, and Roddy White is injured, and
it's time to
Steven
tank.
Jackson is injured. And
yeah, please just tank.
For Clowney?
Tank? Well, I don't know if they can tank that badly. There's quite a few teams who have not won a game yet.
Tank for Clowney.
They need to tank for
quarterback.
Something. Oh, no, they got a quarterback. They got a great quarterback out there. But, I mean, yeah, it's not so bad right now if they can have a lower draft pick and get some good young players. But it's just unfortunate for those fans because that's a team that was very close to a Super Bowl. Didn't quite make it.
Without Jones, how many games do they win? They only have one win right now. How many do they win?
Maybe 4 more.
Their next game is at the Georgia Dome against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they should be able to squeeze some games out, especially that game against Tampa Bay. They should get that one.
I mean, they're close games. They have 2-point loss to New York, a 7-point loss to New England, both at home. They have a 4-point road loss to Miami on the road, and then to open the season, a 6-point loss to the Saints. But the Saints are the Saints this year.
I mean, close loss is still a loss. And when you have your main guys getting hurt.
I'm just saying, some of these games are just one play different from being flipped.
It's going to be a little bit more than one play without Julio Jones.
True. He is a guy that Matt Ryan could just chuck it down the field, and he'd just go up and get the ball, one-handed or not. And one of the last things, Mark, this is kind of a little rant for me that I want to end the show on. I'm going to say it right now because I think we're pretty close to making this our last year for March Madness. We had the Chicago bracket, right?
We certainly did.
And
when King of Chicago, Marian Hossa, won.
Marian Hossa, give the salute. And we're talking about an idea right now. We're thinking about doing most hated or worst personalities on ESPN. This week, had a little confrontation with one of those personalities that would be on that list. Jamel Hill, numbers never lie. I get what she was saying coming out again for the Condoleezza Rice comments, but I was like, really, just leave it alone.
Well,
leave it alone.
I mean, I don't. I think Jamel Hill complains a lot about a lot of things, but at the same time, I think this one was justified.
The way I saw it, and I don't mean this, no disrespect to women out there, but we get it. You're a woman. We get it.
Yeah, I mean, Jamel Hill likes to mention that a lot, but I mean, I guess there's people who do a better job of it. Who there's feminists and women who are in sports journalism who did a fantastic job responding to, I don't remember his name, but one of the college football dudes who...
And it's not just that she said, like, this is a close one for me because I'm a woman. After she said that she disagreed with the guy, and I mean, who was it that said the comment? I don't know his name, but whoever this old guy was.
Oh, no, it wasn't an old guy. I mean, maybe there was multiple ones, but there was a young guy on college.
The one they were talking about is the guy that said she shouldn't be on the playoff committee because she's a woman.
Oh, then that's not what I saw. The one I was talking about was one where a guy said you should only be able to be on that committee if you played football, and then one of the other guys responded to him saying, so no women.
Yeah.
And he said, that those are your words, not mine.
She was complaining about the guy who said she shouldn't be on because she's a woman, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get that it's nice that you disagree because you're a woman, but she goes on to say, like, and I get people tweeting me saying that I should go back to the kitchen. It's like, whoa, just why do you have to bring that up?
I mean, I'm sure she does get a lot of that, to be honest.
I bet you do, but I don't want to hear about it on Numbers Never Lie. I want to hear what you think about the sport, not about what people are tweeting you because you're a woman.
I mean, I think I give her kind of a pass on this one. And I'm not a Jamel Hill fan. I'm really not a fan of hers.
Can't stand Jamel Hill.
But
I love Sage Steele.
Yeah, Sage Steele's great. I mean, like, and a lot of those female broadcasters or analysts,
Rachel Nichols
whatever,
is a nice
a
one.
lot of them responded to the younger guy who's not the woman one, the one who said, those are your words, not mine, and basically saying, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. A lot of women responded to what he said extremely well. They responded extremely well, and I liked all that. But I give Jamel Hill a pass on this one because where does she come from? She comes from First Take. That's what she's used to. She's used to the show where people say, we want you to just rant and ramble and go at it on this show. So I think when they bring something up like that, which is kind of a personal issue for her, they know exactly what they're getting into when they ask her to go off on that.
I will say, though, I do agree to a degree that to be on this playoff committee, you should have some football knowledge, even if that means playing. I would even say that, sure, go ahead and make it to where you can't be on this committee if you haven't played football. Nothing against Condoleezza Rice. I wouldn't put myself or you on the committee.
Well, I mean, I disagree completely with that. To say that somebody can't be on there just because they've never played football is stupid. I mean, how many analysts have never played football? I mean, and what counts as never played football? I played in my backyard. Does that count? You know,
well,
I mean, does Pee Wee count? Does high school count?
Like, I play in the backyard with my buddies. I'm not going to say I deserve to be on that
if
committee.
you know football, if you're a well-educated person in football, you know all the rules, you know which teams are good, you can evaluate some talent fairly well just by your skills of watching the game, loving the game, and knowing the game.
I'm just saying I wouldn't be opposed to it if they
I would be completely opposed to it.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I'd be 100% opposed to it.
All I want for this committee is I don't want it to be a just mockery. I want it to be where we're going to pick teams, and of course people are going to be upset if they don't make it, but we need something better than the BCS. We need to make this as close to perfect as
the
possible.
rankings aren't going away. How difficult is it them to pick 4 teams? 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they pick 5 every once in a while. I mean, it's not going to be that challenging of a thing.
But the one thing I will say I love about this committee brings in the human element. where
Which
you
is
could
needed.
say, like, hey, okay, right now, if we did it right now, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State, yada, yada. Oh, what about Louisville? Oh, well, what about Louisville? They've done this, but what about their strength of schedule? Oh, but what about this? What about that?
And that's the thing where, I mean, we're talking about that like when we're talking about strength of schedule. We're talking about their conference. We're talking about, the actual players on the field compared to, obviously, the players in Louisville and the players in Alabama. Not even a comparison. So do you need somebody who played football to be able to do that? No. Anybody can do that. I guarantee you Condoleezza Rice, a huge football fan, huge sports fanatic, she can do that just fine. And I mean, I know people aren't complaining specifically about her, although there's a good chance there are people complaining specifically about her. As someone who is very involved with politics, a lot of people have strong opinions against her. And I mean, Jamel Hill likes to pull things out, but as a black woman, there's plenty of people who complain about that simple fact as well.
And I mean, I feel like all the people saying that she shouldn't be on it, it has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with her political background.
I think there's a lot of it right there.
It'd be like if Sarah Palin was on this.
But at the same time, I do think there are some people who would say that they legitimately believe that she's a woman, therefore she doesn't know football. There's a lot of people that still have those ideas.
I don't believe that because I have I have come across some women that know football a little bit better than I do.
The reason I know anything about football, like the reason I started watching football is my mom sat me down and explained it to me. But I mean, look at here at St. Xavier University where we're recording this podcast. This school itself held an extremely sexist lecture basically, which was called Football 101 for Women, because people still think women don't understand sports. They're too stupid to get it.
I mean, with me, you say that your mom taught you about football. I never had that because, I mean, my mom, the way it is cool sports. Like, she roots for the Cubs because me and my dad are Cubs fans. She likes the Bulls because that's what we're into, but my mom's never, like, really into sports. The only female I'd say in my life that was really into sports is my aunt. White Sox fan, Bears fan, but lives in Michigan. Tough.
Yeah, that is a weird one. I mean, it comes down to basically people. I can give you a ton of guys I know that don't give a shit about sports. I can give you a ton of girls who don't give a shit about sports. It's just people. I mean, some people love sports, some people don't love sports, and it doesn't really matter who's on a playoff committee as long as they're well qualified.
Why are we talking right now? Because we love sports.
Exactly.
Why are you listening to this? Because you love sports, and I haven't annoyed you to this point to where you're still listening.
Or maybe you just hate Ricky that much that you hate listening right now.
Please don't compare me to Skip Bayless.
Leave comments down below about how Ricky reminds you of Skip Bayless. Please don't tell me
that I'm the Skip Bayless of your mind because that would just break my heart.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
But I think that's going to do it for today's podcast. Is there anything, last remarks that you'd like to say?
Not really. I mean, I'm just glad that we finally have a playoff system in college football.
It's going to be, like, I can't wait for this because I feel like, part of me feels like the SEC versus SEC is going to end because of this.
Maybe. We'll see. I still think there's a good chance we get 3 SEC teams in the playoffs. If we looked at
the rankings right now, I have them up here, I feel like a committee would choose Alabama, Oregon, Clemson, Ohio State with maybe a 5th, Stanford or Florida State.
I kind of disagree. I mean, things would have to play out a little bit more. There hasn't been enough things. But Alabama, if I were to do it right now, I would take Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia.
Georgia at 7? With a 1 loss?
Yeah, they only lost one.
Over Clemson?
They only lost 1 game. Clemson
beat Georgia.
See, here's the thing, though.
Clemson beat Georgia.
We're looking at, and this is where it comes to strength of schedule. This is where it comes down to the conference you're in.
I love me some college football.
Exactly. I mean, you have Clemson, they beat Georgia. Congratulations. Georgia's going to beat.
Open the year.
Georgia, yeah, and exactly. You open a year.
But Clemson's still got to play South Carolina and Florida State.
Yeah, but who does Georgia play? The SEC. They're going to beat so many teams that are better than Clemson.
They got to play ranked Missouri this week, ranked Florida, Vanderbilt, Auburn. They play Appalachian State. Do they get
That's
upset
a tough one.
Do they get upset by the...
I mean, if you get upset by Appalachian State, see ya.
They're the Mountaineers, right?
You're kicked out. You are kicked out of the SEC if you lose to Appalachian State.
Michigan would be out of the SEC then.
Yeah.
because they lost to Appalachian State. But can't wait for a playoff system. But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Onside Kick. Follow us on Twitter at Onside Kick Real. Leave us comments down below. As always, we love talking to you about the sports that we bring to you each and every week through either podcasts or videos. And then, as always, have a good day, everybody.